the notion being bandied about that 2024 is going to be another 1994, but is it? Well, to help us make sense of what the numbers also say, we are now joined by Dr. Pali Lehohla, founder of Pan-African Institute for Evidence, as well as Terry Tselane, founder of the Institute for Election Management in Africa. Barana, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Dr. Lehohla, let's perhaps start with you. We've heard not one but a number of political parties suggesting that 1994 is going to be another 2024. To your reading, can you even compare the two?
Well, it's difficult to compare the two, but one can take an analogy of Rwanda, which was in a space that was very difficult in 1994, and ourselves full of hope at that time. Rwanda was not hopeful. It was a basket case. But at that point in time, it rose and became a different country at the end of 30 years. Now, we in South Africa have actually been battered in so many ways into submission, to the point where we are actually becoming a basket case in the eyes of anyone, including very much so ourselves. We are not imbuing with energy. We are not moving in the way we were moving in 1994 against apartheid. We are actually being battered into submission. But signs of recovery and signs of rebelling against these that we have suffered up to so far are beginning to germinate. And indeed, when that happens, our revival of hope and trust in democracy will catapult us in saying 1994, 2024 will be our 1994. Well, the Interfaith Forum of South Africa is convening at the moment here around the airport, discussing what is the South Africa we deserve.
Okay.
And this is far away from political parties.
Sure.
But South Africans, under the direction of the Interfaith, are saying we need a different South Africa. And therefore, the reset to 2024 as becoming that moment of 1994, albeit from a situation of hopelessness rather than of advancing and saying victory is certain, it's certainly emerging.
Mr. Terry Tselane, back in 1994 when people voted, you were also here throughout the years that followed. Your vote is your secret, your vote is your voice. And people wouldn't necessarily wear regalia of political parties, but in South Africa today, it's littered with various political party regalia. In 1994, people came together under what? In 2024, people will be coming together under what? To try and understand or debunk or get a better sense of whether indeed we can compare 1994 and 2024.
Thank you very much for having me. I think largely people who are talking about 2024 being our 1994 are basically basing this on a pattern that has developed. And that pattern is of performance of political parties since 2016. You will see that increasingly there is no single political party that is dominant. We've got quite a number of hung municipalities, and this has imbued a certain sense of hope among certain people that the kind of transformation that we saw in 1994 is likely to happen as a result of the fact that we no longer have one dominant political party, and that in 2024 we are likely to see a pattern that is developing in quite a number of municipalities, also beginning to develop at the provincial as well as at national level. So they see this moment as a moment that is ushering a new transformative element to the South African political system.
Do the numbers suggest that, though, Mr. Tselane, if you take a look at voting patterns, maybe let's just go to the last election that we had in South Africa, do the numbers suggest that South Africans have appetite to come out and vote?
Yes, there is an indication that the South Africans have got appetite to go out and vote. But also, if I could just give first an example, you look at Gauteng, in terms of the performance of the political parties, you'd find that if you take the local government elections and you aggregate them in terms of the province, a dominant political party got 36%, which means that all other political parties are beginning to get a sense that it is possible to take over Gauteng as one of those provinces. And I think quite a number of other studies that have been conducted also clearly indicate that even in other provinces there is a possibility that you will not actually have one dominant political party. And it is that basically has imbued people with that hope that there's going to be a major transformation in 2024.
Mr. Lehohla, from the work that you do, a regime change, a democratic regime change, does it translate to results?
Well, I'm not sure whether we talk about regime change when we are going through democratic processes. I think what we have to be focusing on as societies, what are the benefits of democracy defined in the way that we have defined them. I think a regime change for me would be society taking charge of the plan and of the planning, and then looking for a jockey to ride that horse. That for me will be the fundamental regime change that can happen to South Africa to yield different results to the ones that we have seen over the last 30 years, or rather over the last 20 years of South Africa's liberation, or in fact over the last 15, in fact, when things really started taking a slide. We need to see what horse as a nation we are riding, and that regime change will be about the horse. The jockey is neither here nor there. We should check on the best jockey to ride the horse that we have defined for ourselves. And that's where this interfaith meeting forum that is being held here at Birchwood is very, very crucial, because it is defining that horse. And the jockey is neither here nor there. It's important, but it's inconsequential in relation to our experiences of having turned the political parties into the horse, when actually they are just a jockey.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for your contribution this afternoon. Unfortunately, that's all the time we can afford. Dr. Pali Lehohla, founder of Pan-African Institute for Evidence, as well as Terry Tselane, founder of the Institute for Election Management in Africa.